Hello and welcome. You're watching Literati on News Central Television. It's the space where powerful stories meet powerful minds. I'm your host, Judith Atibi, and here we celebrate the power of stories, the voices behind them, and the legacies they immortalize. Today we are diving into a story that bridges the personal and the political, the tender and the tenacious. Mrs. Kuti, a memoir penned by the late Remilekun Kuti, the first wife of the legendary Afrobeat pioneer Fela Kuti. This memoir offers an unprecedented glimpse into the life of the woman behind one of Africa's most iconic names. But it's far more than a tale of marriage or love. It's a story of a woman navigating tradition, love, betrayal, and resilience, all while raising a generation of Kutis and shaping her own path through Nigeria's shifting socio-political terrain. From her early days in England and Ghana to her experiences in the colonial era of Nigerian society and into the stormy waters of marriage with Fela, Mrs. Kuti's voice is unwavering, it's witty and brutally honest. Edited and brought to life posthumously by her children, most notably today's guest, who is Yeni Kuti. The memoir is a gift to literature, history, feminism, and also African legacy. Our guest today is her daughter, Yeni Kuti, who is no stranger to legacy herself. She's a broadcaster, a dancer, an entrepreneur, and cultural custodian. Yeni is the founding director of the New Africa Shrine and a key force behind the annual celebration. And today she joins us to talk about her publishing her mother's memoir and also preserving her family's complex legacy and the importance of telling African women's stories in their own words, by the way, as we explore her mother's words, her family's truth, and the heart behind the heritage. And without further ado, Ms. Kuti, thank you so
very
much for coming on.
Thank you. I love the introduction.
Welcome to Literati.
Thank you.
Oh gosh, this has been a long time. I've been on your case for a month, maybe 2 months.
Yeah, I remember, I remember you contacting me and then you went on leave and yeah.
It was back and forth, and finally you're here, and I'm excited to have you. This memoir is a deeply personal one, and it's so nicely done. And she starts very much from the beginning. Your mother starts from the very beginning, tells her own story, her birth, her father, her grandfather, and her great-grandfather, just tracing her heritage down to present day, who Remilekun is. What was it like reading your mother's words? Her voice from the past it's in this much detail that we see it.
Let me be truthful. I started while she was alive. She was always begging me, "Oh, can you read my book? Can you read my book?" And I was like, so I started it. I said, "Oh, mommy, this is a love story. It's a Mills and Boone. I don't want to read." And she would just say, and years after she died, I started to read it, and then it became too emotional for me. I got to where she met Fela and where Fela was chasing her from nightclub, from party to party, and then I couldn't read anymore. Yes, I couldn't read. It was just so emotional that I had to just drop it, because now I was regretting that I didn't read it while she was alive. Of course, I didn't know she was going to die so young. She was only 60,
yeah, exactly.
And the regret was I had tears in my eyes reading it. I couldn't ask her any questions. I had all these questions for her, but I couldn't ask. So it's been a bit, I keep saying, yeah, you'll pick it up, you'll pick it up. I haven't really gotten, I have to get past that emotional, very emotional feeling of, because I will cry. Even when I talk about it, I cry. So that's where I am at.
So why did you choose now? Why now to publish this book?
For years, people have been asking to publish it. A lot of people have approached us because she wrote this book long before she died. There was this journalist that came and he took out 3 chapters.
Yeah.
And he never returned them. So that threw her You know, I think the publisher mentions it.
Yes, during the foreword of the book.
Yeah. He took them away, so it killed her spirit at the time. So after she died, we looked for him. I finally found him, and he said, "Oh no, they're not with him." I said, "Okay, there's nothing we can do." But my cousin, my cousin-in-law, Lola, well, what had happened? Because Femi and I wanted to start talking about our experiences with Fela, and because you know sometimes we sit down. Now I'm digressing, but just take me like that. We sit down from time to time with our kids and we tell them different stories, and they are always cracking up. So this day, my daughter started recording, and she was like, "These stories, you know, once you go, nobody's going to ever hear this, and it will be a shame that these stories are not told." So she started recording as we were talking. And then I said, "Let me call Lola and Olaokun." And I called them, and they come, and we give them a few stories. And they're like, no, these stories have to go down. Yeah. I said, "Yeah, okay. But you know, my mom has a book." And Lola was like, "Your mom has a book?" Or "My mom had a book. Let me see it." So I gave it to her. And that was it.
Wow.
And you know, funnily enough, I had met so many people over the years, but there was no one I could trust the way I trusted Lola to.
I mean, trust is important when you're about to share such a personal legacy and history. But I also wonder what it was like for you editing, you know, and going through that and her sending, you know, scripts or chapters back to you. You have to go through and edit parts, knowing that it's a cultural icon, you know, that your father was or your mother.
I did some. Femi did better than me. Femi went through everything, read everything. I was like, "Lola, I trust you." Lola, I can't. Because I remember when the final copy was brought to us and the tears just started to flow. At that point, I just stopped.
I can only imagine. I mean, the pictures I see of my mother's late, by the way, and I'm always overcome with emotion. So, and when I hear stories about her, because she died when I was quite young, and I hear maybe a relative say something very endearing about her.
How old are you when
she died when I was 7. I just take that and it's like stored at the back of my head, and I relish it sometimes, just because you know there's not so much.
Do you remember her? Sorry, I'm not interviewing you.
Well, that's the job of a broadcaster, isn't it? I do remember her, but there are times where I forget. Like I forget her face. I'd say that I would remember her in a crowd. If I hear a voice, I'll know it's her because there's something inside of me that remembers. But I would need a bit of time to recollect how she looks like. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's how it is. But there's a quiet power in your mother's, you know, narration in this book, and it's measured, but it's firm as well. And so I have to ask you, you know, how you would describe your mother's personality beside the larger-than-life character that is Fela.
You know, she had this quiet resolve.
Yeah, we can see that in the narration.
Yeah, and it comes out in her book. You know, people used to think she was a walkover, but she wasn't. She only tolerated what she did because of the love she had for Fela, for my father, you know. And I think towards the end of Fela's life, because Fela died about 97,
97.
5 years before her, he realized, because there was this bond between them.
Yeah.
You know, so when we used to visit him, he would always send us with, take
this for mother, you know, take this for your mother.
You know? So, and I think because of that quiet resolve, at the point where she said, "I can't live like this anymore. I will move out. You are the only man for me, Fela." And he knew he was the only man for her. And I mean, I spent a lot of years saying, "Mommy,
and she is beautiful."
She was very beautiful.
Beautiful.
My uncle, Captain Wale Bokmo, used to tell my sister and I, "You are nothing compared to your mother. You are not beautiful. Your mother was
beautiful
woman."
Honestly, I mean, in reading the memoir, there were parts that were difficult, you know, even for me. I can only imagine what it was like for you to confront, you know, truths and sort of, were you able to understand their relationship and the dynamics of their relationship better by reading those parts? Whether as a daughter or even a custodian of a family's legacy?
I can understand. I won't say I understand. I can, what's the word? I need the correct word. I can understand, but I cannot accept. Do you understand? Because I'm a woman as well, and there's so many things that I would not tolerate in a man, and she did with my father, and I was like,
do you think it was because of watching her that it informed your ways not to tolerate certain behaviors in whether relationships, platonic or otherwise? Maybe,
because sometimes your
childhood forms your adult views.
Yes, you don't realize it, but I mean, mommy lived and died for Fela. She did, she really did. I remember when we were driving, I was driving her to say her last goodbyes to the morgue. In the car, there was something wrong with the car, but we got to Agidingbi Road and the headlamps of the car just, because it was 5 in the morning, just fell out. Fell out of the car, just like that. No, there was nothing wrong with the car. So, you know, things like that, just, I said, Mommy, Fela is sending you a message, you know, because that could be my only explanation. You know, she got to the morgue, she held him, she was so emotional, you know, and reading her book, you know why. She loved him with all her heart.
She did. She loved him, and he's a lucky man to have had that much love, to know that love was secure and safe and would always be there for him until the end.
I think he knew. I really, really believe he knew.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, because we also see his transition as well. The way she writes him, we see how he starts to transition and how she was still very resolved in that love, even though she was firm about, I can't, this is too much, I have to move out, I can't do this anymore. But we can see that love. And you know, let's go on a break, because I could go on about, you know, about your father. And you're watching Literati here on New Central Television. My guest today is Miss Yeni Kuti. She is the daughter of the author that we're reading today, Mrs. Remilekun Kuti. And we're talking about her memoir, Miss Kuti, Mrs. Kuti, the memoir. Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we return, I will be asking her this time about herself, her siblings, and how they work closely together to bring this book to the fore. After the break, stay with us.
Africa needs its own storytellers, people who understand the continent because they're from it. People who know that news is more than just a conversation starter, it's our stories. Because these stories run deeper than headlines and segments. It's about digging deeper to get the facts and telling the human side of every single story, not just the echoes from foreign headlines and perspectives. It's time to take back our narratives and share them in our voices. The birth of Africa's New Age reporting, and this is where it begins, right here at New Central TV. Stories that put Africa first.
And you're welcome back. You're watching Literati here on New Central Television. My guest today is Miss Yeni Kuti, dancer, entrepreneur, broadcaster, and just a cultural custodian extraordinary. She's also a legendary legacy on her own, the custodian of legacy of her family, the Unpack Kutis. And today we're reviewing her mother's memoir, Mrs. Kuti, written by her mother, her very own Mrs. Remilekun Kuti. Now, before the break, we're talking about her journey to finding the book, accepting the book, and then bringing this memoir to life. But you also talked earlier that your sibling, Femi Kuti, the one and only, the Fela Kuti, was also working closely to bring this memoir to life.
Very, very closely.
What was the process like just between siblings, editing your mother's most personal reflections?
To be very honest, I deferred to him because my sister and I, we were three, my mom had 3 kids. My sister and I always called him mommy's favorite. She would deny and he would deny.
Yeah, it's the only boy. It's the only boy. We know that. We know that. Don't worry, we saw them well.
Mommy's favorite. So I think for him, it was so important. It was important for me, but being mommy's favorite, he was, he read every single line. He was very,
meticulous.
Very, Lola was saying, Femi is shocking me. I said, don't worry, he's your person, I'm not your person, this one. He was very, so for me, so I deferred to him a lot of times. I listened to what he had to say. So we didn't really have a problem editing. I did the business aspect,
and he did the editorial process.
Yes.
That's lovely. That's a nice way, because I know siblings, or my siblings, we already know the task that they are good at, and we'll let them do it. I mean, in this book, there's a lot of honesty in how she describes her relationship with Fela, which we talked about earlier. And one of them that it's very obvious that we pretty much don't put a name to, but she finally does, which is betrayal of that trust and that love and that monogamy that you'd expect, given how he chased her, right, and wanted to be with her because of how you express it. Love, and also eventually somewhat of a disillusionment about how, the union became. Did she ever talk to you about those years before she wrote them down?
No. I won't.
Did you ever ask?
Let me give you one story. When he was going to marry 27 wives, he sent his YAP members, the Young African Pioneers, to tell her that he was getting married to 27 wives and he wants her at the ceremony, and she flipped. She literally, I was 15, 16. I was shocked. Why is mommy getting so upset? Mommy. And she threw them all out of the house. Out. Get out. I still couldn't understand. And then on the day of the first, they had first gotten to where they were going to do the marriage. We went to Tunji and said no. He had asked her to come, and we were going, and we were so excited. Fela was married 27 wives. Mommy, let's go.
I wonder how she felt seeing her children excited about a wedding.
I can't even imagine how she felt. She just, so I think a lot, that's why she closed up to the world. She just stayed, and luckily for her, her mother was there, her kids were there, and we lived with her right up till the end. We all lived together. We still live together. Though she's not there, we still live
home
together.
Is still there.
So at that time, I couldn't understand. It was years later that I understood what was wrong at that time, and I felt so bad. I felt so bad because I don't think I ever got to tell her that, Mommy, you went through a lot.
It took me a lot. It took me a long time, but I'm here now, and I understand, and I see you, and I get it.
It couldn't have been easy for her. With all those women, the wives. She eventually accepted them. They were all, and they were very respectful of her. I will not, they were all very respectful. They were very polite, but it couldn't have been easy.
It couldn't have been easy. And she says this in the book, right? And she's very vulnerable about these things. The Kalakuta Republic, which has all the wives, to the beatings and the communal lifestyle, right? There's a visible, she's visibly hurting as she's writing these stories and telling them, right? And that's why I asked, how was that like seeing it? What do you hope that readers take away from that vulnerability? Because it takes strength to be that vulnerable, to share all of that experience from your view and be able to say, it hurt me.
I would like our leaders to understand the power of love. I think this book is the power, and there is no, I don't think women of your generation, my generation, there is no love we will love like that too.
Before I ask you, I mean, let's talk about legacy because we're out of time here. I mean, between you, Femi, and then Shewa, and then the second generation, right, the third generation that is up and coming. I mean, we've all seen your nephew Made, Chef's Kiss. I mean, I've got to watch him perform twice now, and it's brilliant. Always does it for me. And of course, the larger Kuti family as well. How do you navigate honoring, your father, Fela, while allowing for individual narratives, like your mother's, to emerge and still stay side by side?
I don't think the creator gives you a position you cannot navigate. I think everybody's life is planned. All our lives are planned, and
right.
I was put in this position because I could. So I don't look at it as a difficult. I just think this is what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And so everything that, no matter how hard it is, I will try to navigate through it or make sure everybody is together. And I'm not saying there are no fights in the family, of course. But I just find a way. Yeah. And luckily for me, all my siblings love and respect me. Touch wood. Where is the wood? I need to touch
yes. No, you're the legs of me. We're out of time. I must say thank you for taking out the time to join us. But there's a segment on the show. It's called the Humor Judith's Game Show. It's where I reel out rapid fire questions for you, and you have to answer me with the speed of lightning.
Hey, good.
You ready?
Okay, I'm trying.
What was your mom's favorite meal to cook or eat?
English stew.
She's so English. Oh my God. Which song of Fela's did your mom secretly love the most, even when she was mad at him?
Question, jam, answer.
Who's more likely to cry during a movie, you or Femi?
Me. Okay, definitely me.
Who is the most dramatic sibling?
That one is very difficult.
It's difficult too, because everyone is larger than life. I wonder if Made has that, because he's a very cool guy.
He's very cool.
A very cool guy.
The thing about Made is, when Made gets emotional or he gets angry, you can't cool him down.
Yeah.
So for someone who is so cool, when you say, Made, what happened? Just...
He's a cool. He seems like a cool guy, and he comes as aura seems so cool. What was the one rule in your house that everyone broke, including your dad?
The one rule. There was, I don't know.
Every rule was broken. It was thrown out the window. Let me just even say, what dish did your dad like your mom making for him?
English stew.
If your mom could see the memoir in people's hands today, what would she say?
She would probably be happy. I think she would be happy that her words, she would wish she had written more. Yeah. Because I think she still has.
She's a writer. I mean, in there you can tell that she's a writer.
So I think we finally laid her to rest.
Describe your mom in one word.
One word. That's difficult. Because she was beautiful, she was kind, she was emotional. I think kind. I won't go for beautiful.
Kind.
I wish she was very kind.
Very kind. That is true. And lastly, this is a thing I have, and people have. I think our bond here is that we both have lost a mother, and there's always something in my head about mothers and their laughter. How would you describe your mom's laughter?
Infectious.
Infectious.
Yeah.
That's cool. I must say thank you, Yeni. Thank you so much for
coming
on.
It was such a lovely interview. Wonderful. I love it. I love your questions.
Thank you.
So I've loved every second. Thank you.
And thank you for gracing us and just coming on and deciding to share the story. It's a very vulnerable story to share, and I'm glad and thankful that you shared your mother, a little small part of her to us, to the world. We're happy for that.
I'm glad we finally did.
And this is where we close the curtains on today's show. It's been one of my best so far. I've enjoyed every second of it. My guest today has been Miss Yeni Kuti. She's the daughter of Remilekun Kuti and the legendary Fela Kuti. And we'll be talking about her mother's memoir, Miss Kuti, the memoir. Here's how we draw the curtain. Rather, Fela Kuti. Forgive me, I said Fela and Kuti. That's her father. Well, kill me now. But this is where we draw the curtains. Thank you so much for watching. Until I come your way next time, keep reading. Bye for now.